Let me show you why there may be a concerted effort to debase the dollar and to debase the treasury, leading to higher yield. So let's talk about the dollar first, and I will show you that maybe, just maybe, there's more to the story than what you've heard, i.e. the tariffs are causing huge amount of problems. Let's first understand what's happening to the dollar. The dollar is basically losing its value. Okay. Why does a currency loses its value? Well, because nobody wants it. Why don't you want the currency? Well, because first of all, you're concerned about the history of the currency to make sure that it's still valid, still strong, and more importantly, it doesn't, how much is it paying you? What kind of yield are you getting by holding the currency, right? So, for example, why would the dollar be getting weaker against the euro? Why? Well, because I am getting paid, less on the dollar holding treasury than holding the euros. That's not true. The dollar, the treasury yield is yielding more than the euro. So why do you want to hold euros? That doesn't make any sense. Unless there's a concerted effort of essentially holding and buying more euros, i.e. to debase the currency. Or, of course, it could be the fact that the Europeans are selling their holdings in US dollars, holding their stocks or whatever, and then converting it all into the currency, into the stock market in Europe, which are actually doing pretty well. So that's a little bit worrisome. Okay, so worrisome because if nobody wants to be investing in the US dollar through the stock market, that's a problem. But again, what is really going on? We know the end result, and we know what the media will tell you that is happening, tell you a version of it, but you really don't know the whole story. You see the end result. For example, let's talk about the Treasury. So the Treasury yield shot up very recently, and they said, you see, it's because of tariffs, so now Trump had to turn around to stop this yield from going up. And the yield is going up because the Treasury is going down, and the Treasury is going down, the Treasury bill is going down, Treasury bond is going down because nobody wants it, because they're concerned about the future viability of the Treasury bond, the safest thing that there is on earth. Or, and this is where I'm talking about debasing, or certain entities are selling it, not for the reason that you think, meaning that it's not worth it, but they are doing it as a way to debase the Treasury bill by selling whatever they have, bringing the price down. Who are these people that own the Treasury bill to begin with? Who owns our debt? Well, I will tell you that 27 trillion is owned by us in the US, but there are another 8 trillion is out there overseas. Guess who owns about $1 trillion, 820 billion? China. Another trillion owned by Japan. Let's assume that they're on the side of the US. But you got $1 trillion owned by the European countries. Another 400 billion owned by Canada. And the BRICS country altogether have 1.2 trillion. Maybe they have a vested interest in just dumping the treasury to bring the price down, which would bring the yield down. Then showing to everyone, look what's happening. Your yield is going up. You gotta pull back, meaning give extension to all the tariffs. Is that what's happening? That's quite a possibility. You need to look at both sides of the coin here. You need to understand. I'm not saying this is what happened. I'm just telling you that in the 70s there was an attack on the pound sterling by Soros, for example, and they made billions of dollars. They basically dumped and bought and dumped and then made use of derivatives to basically trap the pound sterling. Now, does it mean that it was a reflection of what was going on? No, it's just that traders were making money off a potential opportunity in the market. So maybe that's what's happening right now. Maybe what is just happening is that you are basically debasing the dollar and debasing the treasury, so then you could make a point that everything that's happening is because of the tariffs. People most of the time don't understand what's really going on, so that's what they assume. Be careful out there.